What can death tell us about consciousness? The next area of study in this developing perspective does not involve refined experiments and must gain its evidence from personal, anecdotal sources. This is because it deals with the most sensitive of subjects, the death of a human being. And yet, a body of research in this field has led a number of senior academics to the conclusion that it provides likely proof of a universal consciousness. One of the leaders in this field is Peter Fenwick, a neuropsychologist and senior lecturer at King's College, University of London. Fenwick has carefully collated, over many decades, accounts of near-death experiences, deathbed visions, and deathbed coincidences. Near-death experiences are highly lucid visions and experiences which take place during a state of temporary brain death, such as when a patient suffers a cardiac arrest, and in which all monitoring devices assert that the brain is completely shut down. From the research, around 10% of patients experience lucid visions, often of a compassionate, brilliant light, and feelings of peace, joy, or bliss. These are common to all cultures, and despite some cultural variations, these common elements crop up regardless of age, gender, and even religious faith or lack of it. About 1/3 of the experiences are also preceded by an out-of-body experience, some of which have accurately described what was happening in the hospital room when the patient was fully unconscious. Fenwick has also studied deathbed visions, in which the dying describe how they meet visions of dead relatives and, again, the journey to a terrain of light, love, and compassion. And deathbed coincidences, which seem to involve a drive on the part of the dying person to reach out and connect with people emotionally close to them, irrespective of the distance involved, to reassure and say goodbye to them. These can take the form of lucid dreams by the relatives of those who are near to the moment of death, but can also occur when awake. Fenwick's research has not led him to a belief in a particular afterlife or a spirit world, but it has resulted in him concluding that there is a likelihood of a greater field of consciousness. If consciousness can occur in the absence of brain activity, then how can consciousness derive solely from the brain? No single satisfactory explanation based on brain science has been advanced. Fenwick also rejects the possibility of coincidence regarding premonitions experienced by relatives, due to the sheer quantity of evidence he has accumulated, often when the death was not expected at all. Again, a wider field of connection beyond the self is seen as the most likely explanation. Near-death experiences have been looked at by SGI President Ikeda in his dialogue with astronomer and mathematician Professor Chandra Wickramasinghe, Space and Eternal Life. Wickramasinghe tells Ikeda that near-death experiences may eventually provide us with the insight into life, consciousness, and mind. Ikeda states, "At the very least, this phenomenon can be said to suggest the possibility that, rather than all of the body and mind's functions being extinguished at death, they continue to exist in some form, and that ultimately neither psychological, pharmacological, nor neurological interpretations suffice to satisfactorily explain the import of near-death experiences." Wickramasinghe then affirms, "The data does indeed appear consistent with the hypothesis of a consciousness that leaves the body and has an independent identity in existence after death." These words very much echo Fenwick's conclusions of mind as a field, but he does stress, "It is important to remember that any theory which tries to explain non-local mind does not displace current neuroscience, but leaves it as a valuable basis on which consciousness acts through and within the brain."